What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the DFSArmy Bold Call season-long fantasy football podcast. Today, we're looking at fantasy fallout from the first round of the NFL draft. Man, I got a tingle. I got some NFL action going. It's awesome, and lots of fantasy-relevant picks yesterday. Welcoming back season-long says the NFL draft GOAT.
What's up?
Crushing prop bets for round one like a maniac off of our last show. What's up, Says?
Hey, man. What's up? Yeah, no, I hit on a good to see you. Good to see you. I thought I love the NFL draft. I'm really a draft geek sort of guy. You know, like I really enjoy the draft. I know a lot of people, if you're listening to this, you obviously do as well. You know, some people who could take it, leave it. They just want to know the results. I like the whole process. I had a couple observations from last night, which we'll go over as far as like the production of the event, which overall from a technological standpoint was good, but there was some quirky things I want to ask you about as we move on, and all the prop stuff, and then of course all the fantasy fallout.
Absolutely. So much fantasy fallout in round one, but you know, it's funny. We did the props show on the Sportsbet Army feed just a few days ago, and we were talking about a lot of different scenarios playing out. And it is funny to see how many of those scenarios really did. One of the interesting prop bets that almost made it was no running back in the first round, man. We got to 31.
But we knew that was a bad bet. I mean, because first of all, if Miami wasn't going to do it, it was going to be Kansas City. Those are the only two spots because Kansas City's in win now mode. A running back, one of these great running backs, obviously could help them tomorrow. We were, you know, it was a little surprising of which one. It was Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You know, he was a 20-1 to be the first back off the board, but. You know, I did not like the bet no running backs in the first round. I did like the bet under 1.5.
I know. Well, hold up. Let's talk about the winner. So one of the bets that you mentioned on the show was a prop for Henry Ruggs, first wide receiver off the board.
Yes, at 5-1. I loved that one. I took it and I hit.
That's a great hit. 5-1 odds. Again, there were some longer shots that really came through here, but we're not here to talk about prop bets now.
No.
Pat ourselves on the back. We do like doing that. But we do like that. But what we had done at the time was we kind of went through each team and said, hey, what's a great landing spot and where do you want? So I think the biggest impact, obviously we had some quarterbacks go. We had a little bit of surprise for Jordan Love going to the Packers. I mean,
hey, before you go there though, and yes, we need to hit on that. And I won't belabor the point here, but what did you think of the production itself? Like, I thought technologically it went fine, right? But what do you think about a couple notes I wrote down? What do you think about the Roger Goodell outfit change midstream?
I did not see that, so I don't know what happened there.
That was puzzling to me. Roger Goodell as like the host was puzzling to me. I mean, I thought he would read the picks, but I thought maybe they would have like a host, like almost like a comedian / entertainer, like a Jimmy Kimmel type, someone that knows football host. It felt a little like dry. Him turning around with the Zoom crowd behind him, I thought for sure somebody would have flipped the bird, or I didn't like that Roger Goodell was making fun of himself with the booing. I thought that was stupid. And then, lastly, and we'll get to Henry Ruggs, but the bathrobe, man, he's literally my new favorite player in the NFL with the bathrobe on when he got it.
There was a lot of really, so when you asked about the production, that's where my head went.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed a lot of the seeing people in their home environment stuff that was going on, because it sort of brings these people who are like these iconic characters, names, people that you see them at their home, and their kids are running around behind them, and I don't know what the hell was going on at Mike Vrabel's house, but
how about Joe Burrow's house? Like, he looked like when he got picked, like he didn't care. Like, he was like, he's
cool, he's cool, calm, collected. So I just liked all of that. I enjoyed it. It was really different, but what are you gonna do? It's the NFL draft in the age of social distancing. It was different, and I liked it.
Too many human interest stories for me. Like, I don't know who that was for. Like, it was like literally every player, they showed like the worst moments of their life in a human interest story. Just like, I wanted to see them talking more football. You know what I'm saying? That was my only critique.
Yeah, my wife likes those human interest stories, and she watches. That will get her to allow me to leave it on TV.
Fair enough. All right.
I mean, if they do that for me, I appreciate it. Like, thank you. My wife is sitting here like interested in this.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
I'll buy that. All right, let's go.
All right, so let's talk fantasy impact, and we start at the top here Bengals take Joe Burrow, consensus number one quarterback, consensus ready to play in the NFL guy. Consensus takes their team from basically the worst fucking team ever to, maybe competitive in soon. So we start to talk about fantasy impact, not just of Joe Burrow as a, hey, where can I draft this rookie quarterback this year, which I'm curious about, but certainly the clear-cut number one dynasty flex, super flex pick, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a Superflex rookie draft coming up, he's the locked in 1-1. He was before this draft. He is after this draft. Quarterbacks are just way too hard to get in Superflex leagues. I would sign off him as the 1-1. Even in 1 QB leagues, I can't see him falling much past pick 15, 16. I mean, you're going to have a young, he's 24 years old, so he's old for a rookie, but you're going to have a starting QB for 5 years without a problem. I like Joe Burrow. I think he profiles as like his low end is like Ryan Tannehill with some upside.
Can't go wrong with Ryan Tannehill with upside as your low end. Again, if you're kind of thinking about who Ryan Tannehill is, he's a scrambler, can run, not going to be a guy that necessarily runs for. This is not a Lamar Jackson situation, but Jared Goff plus.
Maybe? Jared Goff is a game manager at this point. I think
but I mean, I'm talking about with the running and sort of his athleticism. Goff can run, doesn't do it all the time, but I think
way better.
He was doing a lot more of that.
Yeah, this is no comparison. Joe Burrow is going to come in and he's going to be a top 15 quarterback in the real NFL by game 4. I mean, he is the real deal. He's a can't miss prospect. He processes the game. He's super accurate. He's got AJ Green. He's got professional receivers there. He's got a good running game, and they're getting their offensive line reinforced. In my personal rankings, Joe Burrow will probably be QB 15.
All right. Now, more important. So we talk about fantasy fallout, and you always have to think second level and third level when you look at these picks. And so this is really just second level stuff. You have a very nice core of pass catchers in Cincinnati that really have been lacking talent at the quarterback position for quite some time. I mean, Andy Dalton could deliver the football, but last season we saw, a bunch of ne'er-do-wells rolling in at the quarterback position, and still some guys doing okay. So how does this affect Tyler Boyd? Is John
great.
Ross?
This is great for everybody.
Good. So that's where I'm getting at. You have AJ Green now, a forgotten stud. Who's AJ Green? What? He's still in the NFL?
What do they say? Rising tide lifts all boats, right?
Yeah. He's a forgotten stud. And I would even go second level with Joe Mixon. His biggest negative has been his fucking team sucks. They never win. And you want quarterback on winner. I need to make a t-shirt about that. I want running backs from winning teams.
Yep. And teams with bad defenses.
DFSArmy.com/t-shirts. It's not there. That doesn't exist. Don't go to that. Don't go to that. That doesn't exist. You got to win a t-shirt.
Yeah, man. So AJ Green can be had in the 6th round, 7th round of your fantasy drafts. People have a bad taste about him from last year. He's on the franchise tag. He's going to be playing for a late career contract. Last year we were hands off AJ Green. This year we're going to be owning a lot of AJ Green, telling everyone in the DFS Army to get AJ Green at his price. I imagine his price is going to bump up into the 4th round at some point.
Going to shoot up now that they have a quarterback.
Yep. I mean, so if you're playing best ball, you can still get him in Dynasty. If you could still get him first, like a pick 13, 14, and you're a contender, and so try it. Try it right now. Is the time to try to give away your early 2nd round pick to get AJ Green on your team. I like that call.
Very, very much so. Older player, but still plenty of time left. And again, the forgotten stud. People forgot. AJ Green is a stud. He is a great player that is forgotten. That's exactly who wins you your league.
Let's move on now. Here we go. Tua and Herbert, the next 2 QBs that went off the board at pick 5 and 6 respectively.
All good stuff. So you've got Tua heading to the Dolphins. Tua was pretty close to the. Tua should have been. Say he would have been number 1 overall had it not been for the injury worries. But this guy is a super stud if he's healthy. He's on a team that has will be playing from behind all the time. They're going to be throwing a ton. They're going to be playing from behind. That's just who Miami is. They're still not a good team. So a lot of fantasy goodness potential for not just Tua, but the entirety of the Dolphins offense. Hopefully a future running back that gets drafted in round 2 will be exciting. And of course, Devontae Parker and Preston Williams become now an interesting combo because Fitzpatrick, great for fantasy purposes if he continues to start. Tua, if he comes in, doesn't hurt you at all. If Tua goes out, Fitzpatrick's still there, he comes back in. So tell me, do you think Tua starts year 1, or is his injury thing, does that linger through the season? What is the story there? And are we going to have Fitzpatrick or Tua at the helm? And how does that affect Miami's win projection for the year?
Yeah, so as everyone suspected, Miami was not just kind of throwing a dart and going to get Tua. It came out that they sent doctors over there in hazmat suits or whatever they were in, and they examined him. And Stefania Bell of ESPN put up some findings from that doctor's visit and said that there was literally no structural difference between the broken hip and the good side of his hip, that it looked healed, and that there was total mobility. And by all accounts, they got a steal at number 5. I mean, nobody was saying tank for Burrow, but let's say Tua would have stayed healthy, it would have been a debate. It would have been the Mariota versus Winston debate. It would have been RG3 versus Luck. Like, there was real questions there. Who went when Carson Wentz went 2? Who was the first overall pick that year? So I think it may not. Anyway, so point is that by all accounts, the medicals came back clean. Tua. We agree Burrow is going to start from day 1. I think Tua is going to start from day 1. But if I'm doing reasonable projections, I can't really project him to start until about week 4, maybe after, so because they do have a very capable bridge in what's his name, Fitzpatrick. So yeah, I would say that Tua will be out there before the end of the first month of the season. He has laser point accuracy. He knows how to look off safeties. He's a professional quarterback with tremendous upside. The medical, I think we're going to be looking back in 5 years saying, holy crap, I cannot believe the Dolphins got him at 5. The same way we're talking about how Houston got Deshaun Watson in the double-digit picks. So, think about how it worked out for the Dolphins. They screwed up the Patriots season by winning at the end of last season and making them the 3 seed, right? Then they let go of Ryan Tannehill, who ends up on Tennessee, who ends up beating the Patriots in the wild card game.
Miami's joy was just foiling Brady's farewell season and now chasing Brady out of the AFC East.
Yes,
he was so shamed.
And now everyone thought, okay, the price of that was going to be you weren't going to get the number 1 overall pick because you added a few wins, and they get their man anyway at 5. This is a home run. My number 2 pick in Superflex leagues. If anyone in your Superflex leagues takes a running back and you have the 3rd pick, you should start doing a dance. Tua has as much or as more upside than Joe Burrow. You're talking about an electric quarterback that the fans are going to love. Now, he's a little bit of a boring interview. I don't know if you heard his interview yesterday.
Don't worry about the interview. What is the NFL comparison with Tua?
Drew Brees.
Interesting.
Drew Brees, but he's got a little more mobility. But you're talking about an undersized 6-foot QB who can deliver with accuracy and look off safeties at a professional level, can process reads quicker than lightning. He sees the play happen and develop before it happens. He's going to be one of these pre-snap gurus, but I think his game will age well, even though he's not the most mobile guy. He's a side to side. He can escape some pressure. He sees it coming. He's one of these guys that can play chess as the rush is coming. But yeah, he's just undersized, but he'll be able to find the holes in the defense. I would say Drew Brees is an accurate comparison.
That's really good. Okay, so the secondary effects of a Tua acquisition, again, being the Miami skill position players, should be a little bit of a boost, potentially for all of them, both for the fact of, again, you're pretty safe with your quarterback situation over there. Fitzpatrick has always been great for fantasy production, even if he doesn't produce a ton of wins. And so between Devontae Parker and Preston Williams. Do you think Preston Williams now has a chance to emerge as the top guy there, or does Devontae Parker's late career sort of resurgence last year, or I don't want to say resurgence, emergence, right? Never had a resurgence, never had an original surgence. You can't resurge if you don't surge.
So you're asking what's the okay. I think Devontae Parker, they unlocked him a little bit. Sometimes, listen, in my early 20s, I was a little bit of a knucklehead as well. So by the time, you could become 27, some of us are late bloomers.
Even more of a knucklehead at 27. When does the part change?
Yeah, but again, I'd say knucklehead. He wasn't as engaged. He probably relied in high school and in college on his athletic ability and realized everyone in the NFL has that. By all reports, Devontae Parker wasn't eating properly, sleeping properly. He was in a video game all night type of guy. But it all came together, and they have a really great coaching staff over there with Flores. It's an analytics-driven team. They probably connected with him. And that said, I think Parker marches on. I have him in my rankings right now as wide receiver 14. I know that's going to be hot.
Yeah,
that's going to be.
Give me Parker with Fitzpatrick, and now the backup or the potential starter being Tua. Fantastic. And Preston Williams looked great last year before he went out.
Yeah, you hit on that. He's my DJ Shark for this year. Remember last year when I was pushing Shark, and so that was the guy when we started the season-long podcast. I was going to say, get him. I mean, he's not free like Shark was last year. But he's a 12th rounder. You can get
that's who you want on your best ball team. Keep that name in mind. All right, let's continue to power through round one. And again, we're talking about these quarterbacks because a quarterback added to a team is not just one player. It affects the entirety of the offense. So the next quarterback will probably be a starter. Maybe game one.
No, right, because they do have Tyrod Taylor there.
You've seen this. We saw what they do with Tyrod Taylor in Cleveland. We know I've seen this. I've been here before. Okay, we've been into this rodeo. So Justin Herbert, that's right, Justin Herbert, and you're dying to correct it. I know you.
No. You've already established that this is what you're calling.
That is what I will be calling him. Justin Herbert to the Chargers, replacing Phillip Rivers. Now powers an offense that has produced well to the quarterback position and certainly to the skill position players. We've got Austin Eckler, the premier pass-catching running back in the league, next to Christian McCaffrey.
By the way, are we staying with? I mean, this with Justin Herbert only locks in the fact that we should be acquiring Austin Eckler in our fantasy leagues. You saw the trade I sent you earlier that I just pulled off.
I saw your trade. I like it. You want to do what you can to get Austin Eckler on your team. He's going to be getting he's going to be continuing to do what he did.
He's traded a
spectacular fantasy producer.
Yeah, I just traded rookie 12 and 13, pick 1.12 and 2.1 to get Austin Eckler. I'm feeling real good about
Dynasty League. 2 picks. Last 2 first round. That is a fair trade. That's a good trade, I think, for you. But we've got Justin Herbert. We've got Mike Williams. We've got a very less exciting than ever Keenan Allen.
Ooh, I think this is good for Keenan Allen, don't you?
It's good for Keenan Allen, but he's just not an exciting player. And I just don't have. I never draft Keenan Allen.
I don't either, but this makes me very interested in him. And remember, Keenan Allen's going in the 4th round of best balls right now.
Mike Williams, Hunter Henry.
Ooh,
Austin Eckler. Yes. Too many names. Too many. Keenan Allen. A lot of names. There's a lot of names. But all of them get a boost here. Phillip Rivers, sorry. Not getting it done anymore. Not getting it done. You know what the biggest problem with Phillip Rivers is? The best fantasy production of the game tends to happen in that 2-minute drill, especially at the end of the game. And this motherfucker was always throwing an interception, getting sacked. He was just done for. So whenever the juicy fantasy point part of the game would pop up, and like Rivers, but he didn't have it anymore. He would just blow it. Last year we saw him blow that situation 6 or 7 times. It was crazy. So new blood. Probably more turnovers, a little more chaos on offense, a little less controlled, which means more production on offense because teams are scoring more. San Diego, great defense. But when you have sort of a young quarterback throwing interceptions, that throws that off. More scoring against them, which means more comeback mode, which means more fantasy scoring for all of these guys. What say you, Season Long says?
Okay, so Justin Herbert, let's start off. 6'6", has wheels, can move. So he's going to be a mobile guy that's going to get you 2 or 3 running touchdowns. If the pocket breaks down and this monster can't find one of his receivers, he's going to take off. If you watch the tape back at Oregon, it was a lot of like 3rd and 8s where he scrambled for the first down. So I love Justin Herbert. If you have pick 3 in your Dynasty Superflex League, you're going to want to take this guy over any of the running backs. It doesn't even matter. I don't care if you have good quarterbacks. Justin Herbert is one of these guys that's going to have the staying power of Kirk Cousins, but with a lot more upside as far as
passing. Does he have the legs? I only want running back.
Yes. Didn't you hear what I just said? I just said that he'll get you yards on 3rd and 8 with his legs. He's probably going to be one of those guys that gets 3 rushing touchdowns a year. What
is our NFL comparison? Are we talking Aaron Rodgers, or are we talking Sam Darnold here?
I mean, well, he's 6'6", so he's a monster. He's like, he's one of who were some of those really
Ben Roethlisberger with speed, like a little faster. That's who came to my mind when you said, his size. He's so massive. You don't have a lot of examples of maybe Cam Newton is a big guy who can run a little bit.
Cam Newton can run more than a little. He can run more than a little bit.
Doesn't pass though. I mean, in fairness, Cam Newton can't throw. So like, look, he has to run.
Here, this is basically how I would tell you. This is how I would describe Justin Herbert. He's got great size. He's got that pro-ready frame. Okay, he already has the passing concepts down. That's what they played over to Oregon, and he's another one that's really good pre-snap. Okay, He keeps the ball one of the things I noticed on the tape with him is that he doesn't hold the ball out. For those of you listening, out while he is passing. He's not going to get strip sacked a lot because he's so tall and he knows how to protect the ball. He has all the best parts of an NFL caretaker with the arm and the wheels of the upside. Justin Herbert is a very clean prospect who's going to be excellent in fantasy. I mean, I'm not sure we can project him for all 16 games because you know how coaches are with the veteran, but once he gets going, he's a top 10 QB.
Absolutely. He sounds great. Obviously, a really strong quarterback class, at least.
Oh yeah,
on
the top
paper from this draft here. And this was one of those crazy years where a lot of teams just needed a quarterback. Now, the final guy that went in the first round at the quarterback position, I don't think has much fantasy relevance here. You had a little bit of a surprise pick. Packers taking Love.
Yeah,
Jordan Love out of Utah, pick 26. Aaron Rodgers, still good. Not getting traded. None of that's happening. What do you think of Love? I mean, is this just why did they take him here? You think it's just preparation, just best available player? Why? I mean, they traded to get it.
Yeah, well, they got some. So everything I read was they jumped ahead of Seattle. Seattle was going to take Jordan Love if they didn't. That was the intel they got. Jordan Love is the perfect guy to sit behind an aging superstar like Aaron, because he's not a get him ready in 1 year quarterback. Now, we already know, we've talked ad nauseum about the upside of Jordan Love, and I know everyone in groups, and now if you say that he's like Patrick Mahomes, they make fun of you because he made a few sidearms, but he really does have this elite level upside. It's just that there's a lot of rawness and downside. So if you can get him behind a superstar like Aaron Rodgers for 2 seasons, and Aaron Rodgers is not like how Brett Favre was, where he never missed a game. Aaron Rodgers misses games. Jordan Love's going to get some game experience. When you have the upside of a player like that, it's preparing for the future. I mean, so many in most years, Jordan Love would be a top 10 pick. Now you're getting him in the later part of the first round. So it's you're not getting the coaches. The coaches were on board with this too. I mean, Matt LaFleur loved this guy. It's not like when the Packers drafted Rodgers, the coaches were like, "What the hell? Let's get somebody we can use today." We have a superstar. The coaches were on this. Now, is Aaron Rodgers probably on a little bit of tilt here? Maybe, probably. I mean, he has no reason to be insecure.
He's that kind of guy, though. You know, he's tilting just because he's Aaron Rodgers.
And everyone's like, well, he's a terrible mentor. I don't think that, these guys come in and expect to be mentored. Matt LaFleur, the coach, is going to mentor Jordan Love. He's fully invested in his development. And Matt LaFleur, for all his faults as a coach, has been a good QB developer. So I think that this sets up really well for the Packers' future. I mean, they made an investment in their future, so they're not going to be one of these teams that's trading up and scrambling to get a quarterback in 2 years when Rodgers ages out, presumably.
Absolutely. Now, all right, let's move over to the next big offensive position to focus on in round one as we progress through this fallout breakdown. And we had a lot of wide receivers going round one. My recent memory, and you're more of a draft guru than I am, I cannot recall this many first round wide receivers.
So there was
in
six.
A very long time.
So there was 6 wide receivers in the first round. Henry Ruggs, Jerry Judy, CeeDee Lamb, okay? And then you had Jalen Rhaegar was the surprise 4th wide receiver off the board to the Eagles. Then the next pick was Justin Jefferson, which is a great pick to the Vikings. And then Brandon Aiyuk, who was talking. Listen, it was I did a short video on Brandon Aiyuk where there's a major chasm between what fantasy thinks of him and what the NFL scouts thought of him. NFL loved Brandon Aiyuk coming out of Arizona State. And we can work in reverse. We can work from the beginning.
No, let's start at the top of the list here.
Okay, but I'm just saying. So we'll get to him. So let's
we'll get to him. We want to talk about all these guys, all fantasy relevant situations are good for some of these guys, better for some than others.
I lost that prop bet, by the way. I had under 5.5 receivers in the first round.
It was the shocker, the 6th guy, right?
Yep.
So let's Jets didn't take one. Let's get right into it here. Henry Ruggs, Raiders. Mild surprise here, a little bit.
Surprise, not to us. Not to us. That was a surprise.
We talked about him.
Yeah,
but, I mean, because explosive player, a lot of upside here.
Yeah, everyone thinks that like, oh, they just got another John Ross, another Will Fuller, a brittle Henry. I don't know what they're watching, but Henry Ruggs runs every single route. He's a monster over the middle. He can juke you out of your shorts. Going long with that long speed is like. It's like his nuclear button. It's like when a race car driver hits the Knox button. He does have that in his toolkit, but that's not even his primary thing where he beats you long. He's more Tyreek Hill than he is John Ross. Now, I'm not saying Tyreek Hill is so unique because he's a bully. He plays like he's 6'4" and 300 pounds, but I mean, he's a dog, Henry Ruggs, and he's going to run people over. He's not going to like.
What are the numbers on Ruggs? We know about the crazy high speed score. I think it was
4.27. The 4.27.
Yeah, 4.27. What's the height? What's the weight here?
Okay, so so you want
here? Prep those numbers.
He's under 200 pounds. But here, let me I'll pull up his measurables. But I mean, let's see, Henry Ruggs combine profile right here. Okay, so now don't be fooled about his number, but he's 5'11", 188 pounds. So
there it is. Yeah,
I mean, that's Antonio Brown size, man. That's Antonio Brown size.
Yes. The prototype for your first wide receiver, the new prototype in the NFL has been the monster, the A.J. Brown, the Mike Williams, the Cortland Sutton. So Henry Ruggs is a bit of a throwback to, as you said, a little Antonio Brown in there. There's some Tyreek Hill going on there.
Mm-hmm.
There's also potentially some John Ross in there. So
that's not his game, though, man.
How about
not his game?
It's not his game, but like we've seen some smaller guys, like the Patriots drafted in the first round. I think the name was Richardson. He was on Washington as of last year.
Paul Richardson,
very small guy. Paul Richardson. Yeah, I mean, like another 6 foot, 185 pound type frame.
Yeah, no, Henry Ruggs is a different animal. What's his name? The guy who runs the Senior Bowl, Nagy, right? He said, not the Bears coach, not Matt Nagy, Jim Nagy, the guy who runs the Senior Bowl, said, I mean, I value his opinion. And on Twitter, he was saying months ago, Henry Ruggs is the wide receiver 1 in this class. There's no question about it. Don't worry. His skill set translates to the NFL. I'm telling you, man, if I was hoping that he was going to fall to like pick 10, 11, and 12 in dynasty drafts, there's no way now. He's going to be like, there's a case for taking him over CeeDee Lamb at this point.
You have to make a case for that. Now, my concern with Ruggs is he is on a team helmed by Derek Carr.
Not for long.
I thought the Raiders were going to shock the world and take Jordan Love with that spot.
Yeah.
In fairness, I was like, they got to take a front quarterback here. They didn't do it. They've got the wide receiver. They don't have a quarterback that can deliver a deep pass. What do we say for Henry Ruggs' prospect year one in this scenario? Their quarterback is not known for delivering a deep pass with accuracy. So, his speed is somewhat muted by he doesn't have a guy Percy Harvin on steroids. There we go. I like that comment, Sapper Stud. But and that's a great if that's who you're
Harvin
getting
on steroids
without the headaches, right? And the steroid, and without the headaches, that would be a spectacular player, exciting, explosive, super fast, maybe return kicks. I don't know, maybe get you that. So what about the quarterback situation though? And do we ignore that? For dynasty purposes, fantasy purposes this year, I think he's a player. I think he's the best wide receiver on that team day one.
Oh, yeah. No,
I mean, the number one guy. Easily. There's no other they don't have anybody.
I felt like before the draft, I was on an island with Henry Ruggs. I found out there are some other Ruggs truthers out there, man. I don't see any problems with his game. And there's no... I understand what you're saying about Carr, but Carr is like not that bad. I mean, he's not...
He just doesn't throw a lot. He's conservative. Right. He doesn't throw deep. He's a game manager X10. Like, he is the ultimate game manager type.
At this point, every team, including the Raiders, is probably taking a look at Jameis Winston. They're looking at Cam Newton. You know what I'm saying? Like, Carr's not a lock to be on that roster day one. There's going to be teams that prefer Carr, and that's how they'll be able to move him. The Patriots might be interested in Carr. You never know. It's like, I'm just telling you, like, you get Henry. This is Mike Mayock's team now, and this is John Gruden's team. They jumped ahead to get Henry Ruggs. They have a plan. Just like they had a plan for Josh Jacobs, how to roll him out in phases. I trust Gruden and Mayock think about who they signed Antonio Brown last year and they lost him before the season starts. This is their guy. He's going to function how Antonio Brown had this. Think of him as Antonio Brown, but with the speed. Okay. He can function the same way.
Listen, I'm not ready to crown this guy something better than Antonio Brown.
No, of course not. I mean, that would be, but I'm saying is that that's how they're planning to use him.
But and if you look at the structure of the team, even the Gazelle over there, and with now a strong tight end, pass catching tight end position going on, and now a real running back, hopefully that gets trained to be involved in the passing game, you start to get a feel for a well-rounded offense on this Vegas team, which is really a boon to all of the pieces of that offense. I think they're going to be able to move the football better. I think they're going to be able to score more frequently. And Ruggs is probably going to be a guy that you could pick up in the middle to later rounds. And I'm curious to your thoughts on where you think he'll go in best ball leagues tomorrow, because he is now the number one wide receiver by far. There's nobody else on the team for his squad. He's a rookie. They often get overlooked. So how high up the best ball rankings do you think that will get Ruggs pushed? Where has he been going up until this point? So I'm going to be curious to hear some opinions on that. But overall, for the Raiders as a team, this is a really, really positive outcome. So good call, good pick here. Top wide receiver off the draft. And the question becomes, is he going to be the number one wide receiver that goes in fantasy drafts, in dynasty drafts in particular, right after these three quarterbacks potentially, or certainly I think the running backs actually will get priority. So you might see a Ruggs, going 5 or 6, but the first wide receiver taken in your dynasty draft. So yeah, just exciting overall. And what do you think right now on best ball in terms of the round that we'll see Ruggs sort of shoot up to from wherever he's been?
7 or 8.
Yeah, 7 or 8 round. Again, you get number one wide receiver. That's the kind of player that makes your best ball team. I'm not sure. I even think he'll be a productive fantasy player year one, just because he's the only guy there.
Yeah. Do you think that who do you think will have more targets though, Ruggs or Darren Waller?
Listen, it's tough to predict because Waller was such a target hog, but I don't know if that was because they had no one else to throw to.
Yeah, I still think Waller will lead the team in targets, but
it could be, but we don't know. It's very hard.
I'm saying just projecting.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So
it's hard to know. All right, let's go to the next wide receiver off the board here.
Judy.
So I like Ruggs. I like Ruggs as a fantasy asset year one across a lot of different things, just because of even with the terrible quarterback or the conservative quarterback play. Let's go on to the Broncos pick of Jerry Judy, my favorite player in the draft. Jerry Judy. Great wide receiver out of Alabama. Broncos, again, a team in need. Outside of Cortland Sutton, who, looks like a potential stud, but also might wind up being more of just a big dude who you throw the football up to rather than sort of an all-purpose wide receiver. We have not seen...
You're talking about Judy?
No, I'm talking about the other Cortland Sutton, the other wide receiver for the Broncos. So his backfield mate, outside of Cortland Sutton... The Broncos, again, have a bunch of ne'er-do-wells, fantasy irrelevant wide receivers on that team. So Judy steps in here as, I believe, I don't know if we want to call it the shake. He should be the number one wide receiver on this team without long. Now, we like Cortland Sutton, but he has not shown himself to be a wide receiver yet. And in year 3, he could break out. But he hasn't shown himself to be Calvin Johnson as of yet.
Yeah, I mean, talking about like how this affects fantasy, I mean, the obvious take here is we got to start taking Drew Lock very seriously as a dynasty.
I don't want to.
I know, and that's what. See, think about your reaction right there. Okay, just let's break this down. Your reaction is going to be the reaction of the fantasy community. You can get Drew Lock. You remember how we just talked about how quarterbacks are not buyable in fantasy? Drew Lock is one of those guys.
We're talking again, super flex, 2 quarterback formats.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, obviously, in even in one QB, he's a guy that you can get now cheap. You can get him for your late second round rookie pick, right? And you could be looking at a young quarterback that's got dynamic weapons, Melvin Gordon in the backfield. I mean, I'm saying,
just not convinced that he's not terrible.
See, I disagree. But again, this is the point we're making. If you're listening to this podcast, take a look at Drew Lock's tape from last year. Take a look at the numbers, and now you're adding weapons. They're obviously building around him, right? And that's why they're adding weapons. And most people are going to think how the geek just talked about there, and that is why he is attainable. Whereas if he gets to be the Daniel Jones level or perception that Daniel Jones, a young guy with upside, you're not going to be able to get him. Right now, you can buy Drew Lock at a reasonable, I would get him now.
Yeah. Again, dynasty play, super flex, interesting. But
best ball, I would love to have him as my QB2 that you can get in round 13, 14.
That is something probably more interesting for me. Best ball leagues and sort of a guy that might have a resurgent type of season now with some weapons around him, including a pass catching running back. So yeah, could be something there. I do like Jerry Judy's outlook. Having gone to the Broncos, just career
ready.
Career wise, the Broncos definitely do a good job of, exploiting their talent, of making their talent shine. It's not like a Jets team where you're like, oh no, his career could be toasted by where he went. The Broncos are definitely a team that will produce a good player if there's a good player in there, and if they need to switch the quarterback position next year. I don't love the quarterback situation. I just didn't see enough out of Locke personally to think that he can produce incredible fantasy assets as of yet in his career. Doesn't mean he can't grow into it. Doesn't mean he can't grow into it year 2. But I don't love it. But I do like Jerry Judy. I love Jerry Judy as a player, and I think he's a solid dynasty asset. Probably not somebody I'm taking ahead of, again, some of these starting running backs that seem to be going next round. But somebody who I'll be very excited for. Maybe second overall after Ruggs. There'll be some others we'll talk about. But
you're moving Ruggs ahead of him already, huh?
Well, he got picked first, so you have to. If I want to let GMs take the wheel, GMs of teams, general managers, GMs. I'm going to say, hey, this guy the best. So who the hell am I to think that I'm sharper than Mike Mayock? I don't think I'm better than Mike Mayock at evaluating talent. So I'm going to say, hey, Mayock liked this guy the most. That's the top guy. So let me move on to the next guy who is a disaster for fantasy purposes, although a great wide receiver, but the worst case scenario, and you mentioned before, you mentioned maybe this moves somebody ahead of CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb's landing spot is a massive, massive negative. He went to Dallas. Now, you might say, Dallas, I love Dallas. I'm a fucking Cowboys fan. Geek, fuck you. I'm going to send you a nasty email. I'm going to write you a really nasty DM on Twitter about this. Don't do that. Here's the deal. I'm not saying I don't like the Cowboys. I love Dak Prescott. He's my dude. But now CeeDee Lamb is coming in as WR3. Not to say he can't have a good game here or there, but Amari Cooper's over there. You've got Godwin, Gallup starts with a G. A Gallo, what the hell? I'm having a blank. It's the middle of the offseason, right? So you've got two wide receivers that look great ahead of him. This is a negative to all of the pass catchers for the Cowboys. Too many options. This is
Would you take Jalen Rhaegar in fantasy above him at this point?
No, they don't throw to wide receivers in San Francisco. Come on.
No. Jalen Rhaegar went to the Eagles.
Oh, the Eagles, yes. For dynasty purposes, yes. And for fantasy purposes, yes. Sorry.
Wow. So you're knocking Lamb.
I have a rant prepared for the San Francisco pick. Let's not get to that.
You're knocking Lamb below Rhaegar now. Interesting in your rankings.
Absolutely.
I would not do that.
I would not do that. Brutal career situation for the next 3 years. There's going to be 3 guys over there. Too many guys.
I can't wait to see your dynasty ranks.
You could fall in love with his talent all you like. Opportunity, 5 years, just not going to be good enough for me. I don't want to wait. I don't want to have to make a decision on one of 3 wide receivers. It's one of the reasons why I never drafted, and I've told everybody here never to draft Brandon Cook. It's one. Now I also told you not to draft Cooper Kupp. Too many guys. A lot of guys on that team. One too many. I need only 2. When you have a third and you're trying to support 3, it just doesn't work. It's very, very difficult for
a lot of people like Blake Jarwin, the tight end, too. So that's another target that Dak's going to have. And I'm saying he's going to be a star, but
I'm less worried about the tight end than I am about.
It's 60 targets. You can't
produce 3 quality wide receiver stat lines week after week.
Let me ask you this, though. Is CeeDee the type of prospect, though, that comes into the NFL, right, and just dominates and makes one of those 2 receivers, pushes Michael Gallup to back a little bit? I mean,
he could be better than Amari Cooper. He could be straight up a better talent than Amari Cooper across the board. But will he get to prove it? So you're taking that extra risk. I'll take the risk, but I'm just not taking it where he's going to go. If he's going to go second, third wide receiver off the board, this is a guy I want to wait till the second round in my dynasty draft. If he's still hanging out, then
CeeDee Lamb?
Yes.
CeeDee Lamb's still going to be a top 6 dynasty pick.
That's fine for you. I'm telling you what I'm going to do.
You're not getting him. You're not getting him.
He will not be on my team. Not because I don't like the player. First of all, I like Jerry Judy better.
Yeah. No, I mean you've stayed with the as they call him, his nickname.
All right, no, you don't have to go there. It's enough. The sign was sent out. All right. Next up,
many people are going to watch on the audio feed.
I know. Well, yeah,
on the audio feed.
No, we don't even have to go there. All right. Next up. All right, we got Jerry Judy. We got CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb, number 1, dropping for me.
Yep.
Down arrow.
I mean, that's reasonable. It's reasonable considering that he's,
not only that, drops Cooper, drops Gallup, drops them all. Everybody gets a down arrow.
Except for Dak. Dak gets an up arrow.
Dak gets an up arrow. Everybody else gets a down arrow.
Is Dak now? Would you say for fantasy only, redraft only, who do you like better, Kyler Murray or Dak Prescott?
This is a good question. Murray's going to go first. I love Dak Prescott.
Yeah, that's
okay. I'm just going to let you know that. That's all I'm going to say. I'm in a dynasty league where I might pick the end of the second round. My hope would be that a Dak Prescott would get to that last pick in round 2. I don't think he'll get there, but that would be a really cool.
Yeah, in our you're referencing our dynasty startup we're about to do. High stakes, $300 entry, super flex. There's no if I pick at the pick 9. Right? I'm taking Dak in the first round.
You are.
Yeah.
But we don't know what the group will do.
But I'm just saying it's he's not getting back to you in the first round is my point.
Yeah.
If I'm picking at 11, I'm considering him at 11.
You're
and
basically telling me he ain't getting to me because of you.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I have him as my dynasty QB3. I mean,
Okay.
It's
I like him a lot too.
Yeah,
I could see. I love Kyler Murray, Josh Allen. There's that group, but I like that quite a bit. If you can get him in your redraft league, I like him above. For example, one area where I'm gonna be different from a lot of people is I like all of those guys above Russell Wilson. So I'll be taking a lot of guys because that Russell Wilson.
I mean, you know how I feel about this. I have Daniel Jones ahead of Russell Wilson in my redraft rankings. I'm not.
I love Russell Wilson as a player, by the way. Don't send me hate mail. I love that.
Dude, Russell Wilson is a Mount Rushmore. He's one of the best four QBs in NFL history.
So I want to make that clear. It's just more of his fantasy production being all over the place, coaching issues in Seattle. Now, let's move on. We got a lot of wide receivers to cover. Not a ton more time here. So
let's do lightning round then here.
CD Lamb, disastrous.
All right, we already covered. Go next.
Next up, Jalen Rhaegar. A little bit of a surprise pick by the Eagles here. Went ahead of your boy Justin Jefferson. Yeah. I love the situations for both of these guys. Jalen Rhaegar, Eagles fucked up last year. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside not looking so good. Lots of opportunity last year. Did not do anything. They had nobody to throw to, and Arcega-Whiteside did not help. And I'm sorry, that is a bad sign. So here we add Jalen Rhaegar. Give me the breakdown. Big dude, small dude, Antonio Brown, AJ Brown. Which Brown is he?
Whoa.
Right. I went all in.
So Jalen Rhaegar, he's basically last year at this time, as I was telling you, he had his hive of fans. I'm just pulling up his size right now. Hold on a second.
Gotta know the size. It's gotta memorize
it. You want me to memorize his?
I want you to like what is that? You're like 6'4". 220 pounds.
No. He's 5'11", 206. So
okay, little guy.
Remember, so in high school he played defensive back, and there was even some talk that they were trying to make him switch to defensive back in the NFL. He's fast, man. I mean, he's a super fast guy. A little bit more straight line. He's got pretty big hands at the 9.5 inches hands. He's a polarized. He's very good, very good. 4.47 40-yard dash. Okay, 3-cone was 7.31. Now, I think when you talk about 3-cone, you're talking about the lateral agility, and that's a little high for me. Anything under 7, I mean, it's fine. It's not a problem. But anything under 7 is what you want to see for the elite guys. I'm not a Jalen Rhaegar guy. I don't think that he was a first-round pick. I was hoping the Jaguars or the Jets would get him in round 2. Some people are going to like Rhaegar way more than me. I'm out on him as if he's a top 7 dynasty pick. But the Eagles like him, and that's all that matters. The Eagles don't have really anybody there. So I could be wrong for fantasy. He could get the opportunity, but Jalen Rhaegar was not somebody that I personally liked in the pre-draft process. Who knows? I mean, it's not like last year with because you brought up AJ Brown. We liked AJ Brown. We hated the situation.
Yeah, the situation was, but obviously,
pre-draft, I had him as my wide receiver 1, if you remember. But after the draft, I knocked him down to like 7 or 8, stupidly. So with Rhaegar, I didn't have him high anyway. So if you pick 11th or 12th in your dynasty draft, rookie draft, sure. For redraft purposes, great last round flyer. He'll probably push up to like round 13 now. I won't have much of him. But you know what? I would understand if you did. I don't like the overall skill set. But you're going to have you don't understand, out on Twitter, there's Rhaegar people that will take your head off because he was considered the wide receiver 1 in this class before Judy became that guy about 18 months ago.
Listen, there are concerns here. Number 1 for me is the Eagles' history of whiffing on first round.
Yeah, but that's not relevant. That's not relevant, man, because it's not the same guys that are picking.
It's relevant. That shit continues. Nelson Aguilar, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. I can't think of some others, but I'm sure
the draft is hard, man. The draft is hard.
They just miss a lot, and so
everyone misses a lot.
That's a concern for me.
They don't. New England misses a lot. I mean, and they're considered a smart team.
Now, again, all that being said, if I can get this guy, the opportunity is there, and so if I can get a guy like Rhaegar, and they're late in a best ball draft, no one likes him. And you're talking rounds 15, 16, 17 in your best ball league this year. This is a guy who has no one ahead of him on the depth chart. He steps in wide receiver 1 on a team that has no one to throw to. So for that reason alone, if he's just not terrible, if he's just competent, he should be able to be a productive fantasy asset. I'm not here to figure out if he's going to make the Eagles a better team. All I want to know is if he's a productive fantasy asset year one. Not somebody I'm excited about drafting early, but certainly a wide receiver that you want to have on your best ball team beyond just taking the scraps at the last few rounds. That's the guy that you take and maybe has a good year and he makes your team for you, especially in the latter half, kind of like what A.J. Brown did, where he did shit for a big chunk of the season, but later on carried your team to a championship.
Yeah. Also, I think that Reagor, I think he's like the type of player they're going to put returning kicks or punts, and you're going to see like why people like him on special teams if they do decide to put him in special teams. He can light it up if he gets going straight line. There's no catching him. I mean, he's very worthy of the first round pick. I wouldn't have done it, but I don't scout players like how the Eagles scout players. I look at the tape, I read other people's, I take, other people's opinions play a heavy factor in how I think, guys that I respect. So, yeah, I mean, I think we said it all.
Yeah, there we go. Well, let's move on to a guy who I think has a much, much better landing spot and a very exciting prospect for himself, both this year and longer term. And that's Justin Jefferson to the Vikings, taking the spot that is open for them through the departure of, remind me the name.
You're talking about Stefon Diggs?
Stefon Diggs. Yeah, through the departure of Stefon Diggs, wide receiver 2 spot, maybe wide receiver 1 spot, open for the Vikings. They're a run heavy team, but they certainly throw a lot.
Stop there, because you said something important, and is that Justin Jefferson profiles as like the perfect number 2 wide receiver. Like in fantasy, for example, like he'll finish as like wide receiver 16, wide receiver 11, wide receiver 14. Like he's going to be a PPR machine. Okay, Justin Jefferson is pro ready. All right, he is going to catch a lot of passes. He's got a very extensive route tree. I like Justin Jefferson a lot, but he's never going to be wide receiver 5 or 6. And so.
Well, give me a current player comparison.
I would say on the low end,
Calvin Ridley.
No, okay. Well, I was going to say on the low end, the best of Cole Beasley on the low end, and on the higher end, I think he could be Julian Edelman, a tough-nosed player that catches a lot of passes, but also can hit it deep. I mean, He looks good, man. I don't even know. I know those are two similar players, but the high end of Julian Edelman is a PPR guy who can do it all. And the high end of Cole Beasley is a very productive, short-handed receiver professional. So, Keenan Allen? Keenan Allen was never a touchdown scorer. I expect Justin Jefferson to get in the end zone.
Well, what's the height? What's the height?
You want Justin Jefferson's measurable?
Get those at the ready, man. I'm going to keep asking. Get those at the ready.
Yeah, let's see.
Height and weight. Justin Jefferson. Give me some measurables here, so I can.
Here we go.
Wrap my brain around it.
He is 6'1", and he is weighing in at 202 pounds. So perfect NFL receiver size.
NFL
perfect.
Size. Yeah, that's perfect. Good size for an NFL player. There we go. Justin Jefferson, really, really good landing spot. Helps pretty much the entire Vikings offense. I don't know if it helps. In a sense, it's probably a downgrade from Stefon Diggs. So to say it helps, it really just brings them back to what they were last year. We like Adam Thielen. We love Adam Thielen now.
Oh yeah, Adam Thielen is, he's had trouble staying healthy in this last couple of years himself. So Justin Jefferson could easily be one of those guys that's thrust into 140 targets if something happens to Thielen.
Could be a very productive fantasy asset year one. Another guy that you want to be grabbing in the later rounds of every best ball draft that you're in.
Would you take Justin Jefferson over CeeDee Lamb for fantasy?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Without question. Without even thinking for a second. You don't understand. I've been telling you this for years. You fall in love with the player. The situation is more important than the player a lot of the time.
I just don't want to have another situation with AJ Brown. Like we had him as our wide receiver one.
Because AJ Brown, we falsely assumed that Davis was the star, like that. He was
No,
good.
no. But that's what we're doing again with CeeDee Lamb. Like he is the wide receiver. Look, all right, let's think about the parallels for a second. Last year, before the draft process, we had AJ Brown as our wide receiver 1, and it wasn't even close, right? And then we knocked him down to like wide receiver 8 because we
Mariota
didn't like
sucks.
Right, I'm saying
he's on a team with a number 1 that was
right,
drafted
and that's what's
first.
happening again. We're like, oh, he's the number 3. He's not like. I just want to be careful of that again. That happening again. So
because the difference is Corey Davis was not an established player, but they had a bad quarterback. The difference here is they just paid Amari Cooper. That he just got paid. Just got paid Friday night. Body jumping.
4 minutes left.
Right. That's Amari Cooper right now. He's like, I just got paid. Where am I going? I got some money.
All right.
So wait, hold up. I just need to know, are we going to get copyrighted now? Is that because that was very close to the real song?
Yeah. No, I think you're allowed to do cover version.
YouTube is going to throw us off because they think it's the actual version. All right, let's move on to the next guy.
Before we move on to the last guy, or the just remember, everybody, you see up on the screen here, like and subscribe to all of our channels. All right, like and subscribe. YouTube, our Twitch channel, all at DFSArmy. I've been putting out some content for DFSArmy on TikTok and LinkedIn. So that's Alan Fantasy Football on both of those platforms. Apple Podcasts. We're making a real concerted effort right now to get people to like and subscribe to our channels because we are about to flood you with content and we want you to get alerted when we go live. We're doing all these short video clips. We're doing 30-second, 90-second profiles on each player. So most importantly, like and subscribe to YouTube and Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter. Okay.
Get that notification when we go live. These are live streams. You get to ask questions.
And as we get back up and running, DFSArmy is going to be running some awesome specials. We're going to be talking about those to get you back into the chat rooms with us and all that. So pay attention because the Geek is putting together with his promo team all these great deals for DFSArmy once sports gets up and running again. And right now with the esports as well. So enough.
Absolutely. We're doing esports like first place last night. What? All right. We moved on. Justin Jefferson. We like Justin Jefferson. I love Justin Jefferson. Great landing spot. The final wide receiver of the first round. Brandon Aiyuk. Wait, is that the final?
Yep.
Wait, is there one more?
No, that's it.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Brandon Aiyuk goes to the 49ers.
You want me to give you the quick rundown on him?
Give me the breakdown of the player.
Okay. Out of Arizona State, the same school that N'Keal Harry came out of last year. So there's already a built-in bias that from him. So there was a bit
from there.
Yeah, so there's a chasm in what the NFL circles believe and what fantasy players believe. Fantasy players were down in Aiyuk. NFL circles were very high on him, as evident by his draft by Mike Shanahan, right? So Aiyuk comes out, he's sure-handed, he's got a huge wingspan, 81 inches. You remember that poster of Jordan with his arms out like that? Like, literally, he has the catch radius. After the catch, he is elite. So you throw him a short pass, he takes it to the house. Now, he had a core muscle surgery. That's not a problem for long-term recovery. This is the perfect Mike Shanahan player, a guy who can run all of the routes, take it short, and bring it long. The comps the best comp I saw to him, and put on your seatbelt here, is Odell Beckham. He's that type of player where he can take. I mean, now, it's a high praise, but that's his upside. Takes the short pass and brings it long. No one's better than catching the slant and bringing it to the house than Odell, right?
Why did the Eagles not take this guy?
Again, that's a good question because there's Reagor fans out there, man. There's Reagor fans. Yeah. And also they wanted someone that can go long. Now, Aiyuk is more of the short game that he's a yards after the catch guy. So
his flaw is he's not the deep ball guy.
He can be, but Reagor is like Deshaun Jackson. And so that's the difference. Whereas Aiyuk is more of the yards after the catch type of player.
Well, from my point of view, and I look at situation more than talent, there's pros and cons here to this landing spot. I do think it's a positive net for the 49ers. They clearly needed another guy. Manny Sanders, fine last year, needs to be replaced. You've got Dante Pettis sort of
scratch his ass off, right? He's done.
Yeah, going off the deep end here. I'm trying to think who they have
Deebo Samuel. They're going to have Brandon Aiyuk.
Deebo, we know Deebo's going to be
George Kittle.
Yeah, Kittle. Now the biggest negative. Who's the other wide receiver? Deebo.
Marquise Goodwin, and then they have Jalen Hurd, who got hurt in the preseason.
Really, no one. In the end of the day, it's no one. So it's just these two guys and a bunch of ne'er-do-wells. It's going to be Debo with small back punk, and it's
Aiyuk belongs in the first round of dynasty drafts now.
Definitely a first round. Now the negative here is the danger with any San Francisco pass catcher is going to be lack of volume. They do not throw a lot. If they can rely on the running game, they will. Unlike anything I've ever seen before, they've taken the Seattle model and put it on steroids and said, no, we are going to refuse to throw the football. We are going to bully you. And George Kittle is like the leader of that movement on that 49ers offense. So the negative here is this is not a guy that, all right, let me just say it. This is not a guy that outside of best ball, which I do love him for because those few games where they throw, he'll or explosive player, but he is not a guy I'm excited to have on my dynasty team. He's not a guy I'm excited to have on my fantasy team. Yes, not because of his talent. His talent is there. This is not a team I want wide receivers from. It's that simple.
Right. So let me also you've asked me every time. This time you didn't. He's 6 foot, 205 pounds. He could literally, you cannot cover him one-on-one. He's got the quickest twitch ever. I'm telling you might regret saying that. He is going to be a
throw more than 18 times a game.
I mean, that's why they're stocking up on short. So they're going to throw more than 18 times a game, and that's why they're stocking up on short pass catchers. They didn't last year, but you saw in the Super Bowl, they manufacture touches for their wide receivers. He's going to get, remember in the Super Bowl how they were just, they were pitching to Debo, they were end arounds. They're going to be doing all these crazy reverses with Aiyuk. He's literally a first down maker. That's how I would describe him. If it's 3rd and 7, like I'm confident that they're going to get the first down because you throw 4 yards to Aiyuk. Wait till you see his highlights, man. He jukes you out of shorts. There's plays of Aiyuk catching a football, turning around, looking at 2 tacklers, and then basically crashing into each other. This guy can move side to side so quickly. He's gonna. I think he's personally gonna be better than Debo, but I'm not. I don't want to set the world on fire and get people yelling at me. But Aiyuk is a number 1 wide receiver. We talked about Antonio Brown before. This guy fits into that mold too. He's a first down maker.
Again, one of those surprising drops, man. It's crazy. But again, my issue is not with the talent of the player so much as the situation. San Francisco is not a team that's going to produce volume to the wide receiver position. So you really have to accept a guy that's going to catch 4 to 5 passes a game. And he's going to have to do a lot with limited opportunity. It's not the greatest thing in PPR, but I know he's going to have explosive games, not just this year, but over his career, or I would expect it. So again, more of a best ball asset for me. Those games that are competitive that San Francisco is not able to run the football, just like Seattle, when they can't run, all of a sudden the passing game goes crazy and you get incredible productivity because I don't think they lack talent at the quarterback position or in the passing game. It's just, if we can run, we're going to every time. So you want him in games, like I think of a daily fantasy point of view, I want him in games where the 49ers are pick 'em or even underdogs, maybe on the road. Those home games where they're just going to dominate with the run, they're just not going to throw and produce to the pass catchers enough to really get me too excited. But he sounds like a great player. He sounds like a beautiful fit for this team and somebody where we might have some teams regretting, maybe like a Vikings and an Eagles, again, regretting their choices. We'll see. We'll see how the careers play out.
Do you remember how we thought Sammy Watkins was going to be? Like how we thought he was just going to be like a short pass catcher and just like that. And then injuries just totally derailed him and he just kind of never really hit. I would say that he has as much upside as we thought Sammy Watkins was going to have coming out of school. And Sammy Watkins was a top 5, overall pick. So
there we go. It helps. This helps the entirety of that San Francisco offense in a sense. I don't think anybody takes a hit. Even Debo, that's my bike punk, is doing just fine.
That's just perfect for Debo. Yeah, hey, we hit an hour and 5 minutes, and we covered it all.
Well, no, we got one last guy to talk about real quick.
Oh, right. Yep.
Chiefs running back Clyde. This is the biggest impact pick of the entire draft. A shocker. So let's hammer it through. We're past the 1 hour mark here, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Chiefs shock the world, take him over Taylor Swift, some of the other names that have been floating out there.
I like
what were the odds of Helaire first round off the board?
First running back off the board.
Yeah,
It was plus 2,000. It was 20 to 1.
Unreal. 20 to 1. You could have gotten 20 to 1 odds on this.
If you would have bet $25, you would have made 500.
Yeah, beautiful, incredible prop. So tell me why the Chiefs picked Helaire. He's a smaller guy. Who are the NFL comparisons, and what are we expecting from him year one?
Sure. So if a good running back in college catches about 30 passes, Chief. Okay. So I called you the Chief SD. That's your screen name. So geek. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire, just to give you comparison, caught 55 passes last year. Okay, that would be the NFL equivalent of catching 90 passes in the NFL. Okay. He's an elite pass catcher, an elite route runner. Doesn't have elite speed. He ran in the 4.6s, but he's got this short area burst and this spin move like I've never seen before. He's pro ready, and he fits exactly what the Chiefs want to do. They want to throw to the running back. I mean, you and I talked about this off air. I mean, I can see why he was the first running back off the board. He is pro ready and fits the Chiefs system exactly right. I'll probably have him around RB15, RB18 in redraft, right around where the Leonard Fournettes of the world are, and some of the older veterans. But he's going to be in consideration.
Right, straight up today. Are you taking him above Chris Carson?
Oh yeah, I don't have Chris Carson in my top 25 running backs.
There we go. So let's throw another name out there. Fournette or Helaire.
Yeah, I'm going to take Clyde Edwards-Helaire there. I'm not confident Fournette is going to be on the Jaguars roster before.
There's a little sneak preview inside information here potentially. How about Helaire or Le'Veon Bell?
That's a great call right there. I mean, only because Le'Veon Bell has the backfield to itself, I would take him. But if you told me that you like Clyde Edwards-Helaire sharing carries with Damian Williams, I'd have no problem with it.
So there you go. So basically, running back Chiefs. The positives are he catches passes.
Oh, does he ever?
He's got a great spin move, exciting runner. The negatives are I heard maybe some deficiencies in pass protection, and certainly. Lots of other bodies on that Chiefs team, Damian Williams, and a Chiefs team that has shown a propensity to go with a committee at times. So there are some risks here. I don't want to get too crazy or excited about a rookie when you're talking about a Chiefs team that has had a propensity, and we've seen it, to sort of have a multi-back situation.
But think about this, though. Damian Williams has not been the picture of health. Okay. And when you're a Super Bowl team, you don't draft a quarterback you don't draft anyone in the first round that you can't use this year. Like the Chiefs window is now. If they want to go Patriots on us and try to get 6 Super Bowls in Pat Mahomes' career, every year the window is open. You draft players in the first round you could use today. And that's what they did.
I don't have any doubt. I have no doubt they'll use him. So what we don't know is the volume. There's some other guys waiting in the wings on that. There's just a lot of bodies at the position group, but none of them have shown themselves to be either able to stay healthy in the case of Damian Williams or, a special talent, like as in the case of Darwin Thompson, who couldn't really step up and grab the job last season. So let's see what happens here, but a little bit of surprise here. Do you think Helaire is the number one? Now we have to still wait. I expect maybe Jay Squizzles. Now, all right, let me throw a scenario at you real quick, and we're gonna close it out on the analysis. Let's say the Dolphins today take Jay Swizzles.
You mean Jonathan Taylor, or are you talking about DeAndre Swift?
DeAndre Swift, sorry. D-Swizzles. DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, then he would be
Swift or Jonathan Taylor, that's fair. But let's say they take Swift, pick number 5 in the second round. Who do you take first in your dynasty draft?
I'm not going to have take lock here, but I've told you from the very beginning when everyone else was talking about Jonathan Taylor was their RB1. DeAndre Swift is my RB1. And I've said it on many podcasts, but I'll repeat it here for those who are hearing for the first time. He's a bulletproof prospect that cannot miss in the NFL. DeAndre Swift on the Dolphins would be my clear-cut 1-1 in Dynasty, and there's not even a question about it. Now, Helaire could be 2, he could be 3, he could be 4. We'll see how the other guys fall out. But if DeAndre Swift lands in Miami, that's a lock for 1-1 for me.
I love it. All right, let's wrap it up right there. Breakdown, fantasy relevance, fantasy fallout, round 1 of the 2020 NFL Zoom draft. thanks everybody for listening. More drafting tonight. If you're listening to this after the entirety of the draft, we'll have a breakdown of rounds 2, 3, and we'll be following up with more fantasy relevant draft analysis.
And then can I just
reminder? Let me just remind, like and subscribe to the channel you're listening to. If you want a notification when we go live, when we're about to go live, when a new video comes out, DFS related, fantasy related, dynasty related, whatever you're doing, like and subscribe. That'll hit you in the email. Plus, when you like the thing, we know you like what we're doing, and then we do another one because we're like, hey, we got likes.
And also just I'm trying to build up. I'm doing a lot of stuff on TikTok and Instagram. So Alan Fantasy Football, ALAN Fantasy Football, and I'm going to be putting out a lot of like video clips of even something like that we just did today in 40-second bites. So if you don't want to listen to a whole podcast, you just want to hear about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, or you just want to hear about Jalen Rhaegar, I'm putting those clips up on TikTok and on LinkedIn and on Instagram. So it's Alan Fantasy Football. Follow me on both, and you're going to get a lot of exclusive content that we don't give to the whole community, that we keep to just the members of those social media platforms.
Now, I will say as well for TikTok, if you want to see me doing little dances to songs and music, you can follow me at geek at tiktok.com. So there we go.
Do you have a TikTok?
No, I don't. I was just kidding. My kids do though.
Because I'm telling you, man, TikTok.
I'm going to. I'm going to do the dances though. I'm not going to do fantasy football stuff.
All right, brother. Good shit.
I like to dance. All right, for Sez and myself, this is the Bold Calls DFS Army Fantasy Football Podcast. Until next time, take care, everyone.